This is Jordan Edwards, and this is the Business Jiu-Jitsu Podcast. Good afternoon, Brandon Epstein.
Good afternoon, Jordan Edwards. Great to be with you.
What's up? Really grateful to have you on. Thank you so much for coming on the Business Jiu-Jitsu Podcast.
Fired up, man. I read the book. Got it here behind me. Boom, right there. So I'm in it.
I'm so grateful that you did, and I'm also grateful to call you a friend and a mentor, and for the work that you do. So, for those who don't know Brandon, he is a performance and mental coach. He is fitness extraordinaire. He's lived many lives, but most recently, you're working with some of the highest performing athletes, fighters across all different sports, not just fighting, business executives, and you're helping them fine-tune their mental game.
That's it, right? Man, my job is to help people rewire to experience more peace, power, and purpose in their life. So I can really go across any discipline, right? Obviously, we have our experience in business, but I do it in sports, I do it in art. I'm just helping people get out of their own way so they can be present and perform their best.
Yeah, and you do an unbelievable job at it. You're also an author of a great book. I have it right next to me here.
Let's go.
Success Code.
Yeah.
Highly recommend. You're working with super high performers, and you have limited time, and your time is rightfully so expensive, but you give away many of your secrets right here in the book, in the second half of the book. So I can't stress that enough. Right off the bat, I want to tell everybody that Brandon has shared exactly what you do and how you do it. And you also have a library of amazing meditations and guided thoughts that can help anybody. So before we even get into it, I'm advertising your services only because they've meant so much to me. And I just want everybody to know that as you learn about Brandon on this, that he is so genuine, thoughtful, and open to helping everybody just be better. And
Thank you, bro.
I love working with you and talking to you, and the fact that you give it away for anyone. It's so powerful of who you are. So anyway, let's get into it. Where are you from? Where'd you grow up?
Yeah, I was excuse me. I was born in Queens, New York. Lived there for the first 6 years of my life. Mm-hmm. Moved out to Long Island when I was 6. And then when I was 12, we moved to Eugene, Oregon. So huge culture shock. Was not happy about that when I was 12 years old, but it really rounded my personality out. You know, you start with that Northeast edge, and then I got chilled out by all the hippies in Eugene, Oregon. So, you know, got a little bit of that yang, more aggressive energy of the East Coast, and then the yin, more of like the hippie, passive energy over there in Oregon. So that was like my childhood, man.
Do you consider yourself a New Yorker or from Oregon? What is someone from Oregon? What do they call themselves?
Oregonian. Yeah. Listen, man, I suffer with all the New York sports teams still. So I guess I have to say I still kind of resonate. New York is a place that I've actually lived the longest in my life because I've moved around quite a bit. I spent the most amount years of my life in New York. So that's still in my heart. And, you know, I suffer with all my teams. So, you know, I'd say I'm still a New Yorker.
Well, you have to suffer along with all of us.
Yeah.
That's great. You are an athlete yourself, football player, if I remember.
Yep. Played football in high school and then went on and played in college. And after college, got into boxing as well. You know, nothing serious, but, you know, I had a match just so I felt like I could experience what some of my fighters are going through, who I'm training, and really know what it's like to actually go into competition, you know, when there's a crowd and, you know, like the intention is to knock the other guy out. I wanted to put myself through that. So I had that experience as well.
I ran into a couple of weeks ago, I hosted an event, the first ever Business Jiu-Jitsu event. You were with me in New York right before it was going down. And I went to, I had Al Iaquinta, who's a former UFC fighter. And Al, his dad was my brother's football coach when he was in high school. And unfortunately, my brother suffered an ACL injury, and wasn't able to play any longer, but his dad, Al, treated my brother so unbelievably well. He helped him and kind of made him like a player coach, like an assistant coach almost, you know what I mean? And he had a lacrosse coach who basically wrote him off and didn't treat him nice and didn't really help him and kind of like treat him like a bit of a pariah, like, oh, you can't help me. And just, he wasn't, that imprinted on my brother so much in his life and on my parents so much. And when they found out that this guy, Al Quint, was coming to my event, they told me this story. And they were like, this was such an impactful thing that my brother didn't even play, but this coach that he had was so important in his life back in high school. Like, I wonder, with the work that you do as a coach, did you have any amazing coaches when you were growing up? Like, where did the seeds get planted from today all the way back then?
Yeah, man, I think it's really just one person who was a mentor to me, my sensei, Sensei Clay, someone who, when I was in high school, I kind of knew he had a supplement shop that was near our high school. And so I go in there once in a while, but I didn't really have a close relationship with him. It wasn't until after my freshman year of college playing football, I rode the bench and I was looking for solutions. I was like, all right, how do I get on the field? How do I level up? And like, at that time, like, I wasn't experienced at all in the world of mental performance or energy or anything in that realm of how do I improve doing anything outside the physical. So of course I went in there. I was like, what's the magic pill? Give me a pro hormone, give me the strongest thing you have that's going to get me bigger, stronger, faster so I can get on the field. And he's the one who introduced me to how my mind actually impacts my performance. And so just in that, like, one day where I was looking for the magic pill, he took me down this path. He started to walk me down it, where he showed me some easy techniques. One technique was, he said, look off into the peripheries of your eyes, breathe in deeply through your nose. He's like, what do you notice? And I'm like, whoa, I notice that, like, my mind clears. I feel peace. I don't feel like there's this constant bombardment of thoughts and overthinkings, anxieties, and all these emotions that usually were just completely filling up all the space in my consciousness. And so from that point forward, I was hooked, man. And so that guy, he worked with me, taught me how to use the yang side of energy medicine. So he showed me how to use energy medicine to go perform better on the football field. And I went back the next season, became a starter, became one of the best players on our team, had some really standout performances. But he also taught me the yin side, which is how to use the same energy medicine to heal. And that was the greatest gift he could have given me, because that's literally what I'm doing now, 17, 18 years later, is I'm still using those healing techniques that he planted the seed with. And so he was definitely the most impactful mentor that I came across, and really the only one, like, who I feel like really allowed me to find my power within myself. In all my other education, it was kind of like going outside of myself. And even like traditional school, like, I didn't feel very empowered. It was like, I'm not great at math or science or remembering a lot of information. Maybe I can remember it for a period of time, spit it back out on a test. But like, I wasn't getting a sense of self-esteem from that. And he's someone who showed me these alternative ways of being and living that I felt like I was truly tapping into my unique talents and gifts. And those seeds that he planted have now grown. And, he's very excited because now here I am out here working with the highest performers in the world. But it all started there with that one mentor who believed in me.
Wow. And it was like, was that a by chance? Like, why, how did the relationship really take root? Like, was it just?
Yeah. I mean, he was the manager of the supplement shop. And literally it was that story of like him just asking me some questions, giving me a simple exercise, me getting interested in it. And I actually had another buddy at the time. He was my best friend in high school who was competing in bodybuilding. And him and I were both kind of looking for the physical side of performance, but we also were interested in this alternative way of improving performance he was teaching us about. So he started teaching us about the Chinese medicine system. He taught us about the energy system, the chakras, the meridians, taught us about different forms of meditation, started teaching us about hypnosis, neurolinguistic programming. And so him and I together, me and my best bud, we would go and he would just teach us. We were his pupils. He would teach us different skills. And it really just started there with like him having his goal around bodybuilding, me having my goal around wanting to be better at football. And then once I started to see some success there, I just grabbed onto it because I'd never been like naturally good at something. Like even football, I was able to play in college, but I was playing Division 3. Like I wasn't naturally a great athlete. And so it was like all pushing, force, energy. Once I aligned with the energy medicine stuff, it was something that actually came pretty natural to me. And it was something that I could like learn something in a session with him. He'd be like, all right, learn this technique. And then he'd say, now go practice it. You know, he wasn't like in school. A lot of times it's like, okay, you have to study and study and study. You have to pass all these tests, the exam certifications before you're like worthy of going and practicing stuff in the real world. He would say, no, go do this. I'm going to teach you a meditation technique. I want you to go do it by yourself 3 times for the next week, every single day. And I go practice it and he'd be like, all right, now go try it on someone else. And so that's what I did. And he just gave me this sense of like permission, like I'm worthy of being able to share these gifts with people. And so I'd start doing it and I'd like literally go and like take someone's pain away. And we've experienced a little bit of this in our work. And I realized, wow, like if I use these techniques, I can really help people immediately. And so it was just those experiences, being his pupil. I just kept coming back to the well for more and more because he's such a wealth of knowledge that I just keep coming back for sessions. And I did that for, while I was in college. And we actually took a fair amount of time off. We probably took maybe like almost like 10 years off from really going deep and doing the work. Maybe it was more like 8 years. And I came back to him actually, even though we maintained our friendship. I'd see him whenever I was back in the hometown. But I had an experience with the Bufo aloe toad. Have we talked about this at all?
I don't think so.
I think you get it. You get it in the
I
book.
think I recall you talking. You had a great episode on Joe Rogan podcast where you dug into some of this stuff and in a little bit more detail. But please refresh my memory.
Yeah. So I was always just seeker. I was seeking deeper truth, deeper knowledge, deeper wisdom. And I didn't really grow up in a spiritual household. Like my dad's Jewish, my mom's agnostic, but God was never talked about in our household. And I was always just seeking. I was like, okay, well, yeah, what does this all mean to me? What is God? What is a higher power? Like I was disconnected from it. And I was on the path of like learning more about stuff in this world and practicing the energy medicine, knowing I'm pulling this energy from somewhere, but not really feeling fully aligned with it and not having this visceral understanding in my body of God. And so I was actually listening to Hot Boxing with Mike Tyson, and he has this episode, the first episode of the show, he smokes a toad, the Bufo aloe toad. And so he smokes a toad and he comes back from the episode and he's sharing his experience. And I saw the most tapped in, powerful version of Mike Tyson and really almost any human I've ever seen in the first, I feel like, season of that show. And I was like, whatever that was, I want to experience it. And so I went seeking it, and what you're seeking for is seeking you. So it wasn't hard to find. And I had an experience with this Bufo toad, where essentially what it does is it gives you an ego death experience. And with that, there can be a lot of trauma too, because when your ego dies, it also gets traumatized if you're not ready for it. And I just knew that I need to have that experience. And so I did. My ego died. On the other side of it, it was like, whoa, everything, all my subconscious programming, right? The identity, the wiring of the identity of who I was now being put into question. I was like, why do I believe these things? Or am I believing things that are in my best interest? Or are they working against me? It just seemed like the whole world was like malleable, almost like I was in those developing years again before you're like 7 years old. You're in those years where you're so malleable, where you're just a sponge for everything. You're picking up your belief systems. You're building your identity. It was like I'd opened the door to start doing that again. That was very exciting. It was revelatory. I experienced being with God. God was undeniable after I had that experience. I was like, okay, got it. Don't have to seek anymore. Here it is. I experienced it. But with that, there was a trauma.
Was it guided, or it was you found it on your own and did it on your own?
I went to a shaman, and they administered the Bufo. It's a poison. It's a venom, essentially, and you smoke the venom. And so I did it in a setting with someone who holds ceremonies consistently. And so, on the other side of that, though, it's like when your ego dies, there's a lot of trauma there. It's like, whoa, like your whole identity has been so shaken that it leaves this scar tissue of like, okay, like what now? And so I was struggling a little bit with that aspect. And I won't go deep into the story of like what that felt like or what that was like to honor the time that we have here. But essentially, I felt that there was this trauma that I was walking around with. I was just like, oh, halfway in the spirit realm, halfway in this physical conscious world. And I wanted some resolution. I wanted to release the trauma from that experience. Like everything I was gaining from it, the connection to God was beautiful, but I was just a little bit traumatized from it. So I hit up my sensei and I was like, hey, here's my issue I'm having. We hadn't worked together, like I said, for probably 8 years. And he's like, cool. He's like, let's work on it. So I sat down on the call with him. We're on a video call just like this. And he's just looking at me. He's smiling. He goes, all right, so what is it? 1 to 10. I'm like, dude, it's like 10 out of 10 intense right now. Like, this is really disturbing my life. Like 10 out of 10, there's a trauma here. And he keeps smiling, kind of wiggling his head. And he goes, what is it now? I start laughing uncontrollably. I go, it's zero. It's zero. It's zero. The trauma's completely gone. And in that moment right there, I was like, whatever you just did for me, I want to learn to do that. And I'm going to do that for the rest of my life. And that's exactly what I did. So as you've experienced a little bit in our work, like these are techniques that I do. I don't just look at you, smile and wiggle my head and basically dissolve your trauma, but I have techniques that I've learned now. So in that experience itself, I had the experience of someone remove my trauma in real time. And then he taught me the actual techniques to be able to do it for myself and for other people. And so that was like a re-engagement with him. And now that's a big part of the work I do today is I go into people's subconscious minds. I find the trauma from whatever experience they've had, PTSD, or it could be just like you got excluded from a friend group when you were 14 years old. And that's made this lasting impact of not feeling like you belong. Whatever it is, we all have these micro, macro traumas. And so that's what I do to this day is I remove traumas for people. And not only that, but the energy of any trauma can be transmuted into a fuel source, a propulsion system for you. And so what I do is I clear that and I flip the energy onto the opposite polarity and I create an incredible fuel source for people to move forward with. And so that's been like the most impactful thing I think that I've got from him was that gift that we worked together. And of course, like actually, he's not like this, like he's an incredible person, but I also paid for all the work I did with him. You know what I mean? I think some people have like a little bit of like a fantasy of like, when am I going to meet my sensei who's going to save me? I've paid him for everything that I've ever done with him, because I believe that like you should honor the people who are investing into you. Like there's an energetic exchange. And so I've always like paid him to be my coach, my mentor, to teach me things. And I've used the tools and I've, 1,000x my investment because I've taken the tools he'd given to me and I brought them into my work, into the masses. And, byproduct, that's my book. Byproduct of that is keynotes that I give. Byproduct that is the one-on-one coaching experience that I have. And so I do want to share that because I think some people are like, they might hear it at first and be like, who's going to come save me? And it wasn't really like that. It was more so I met someone who had skills that I knew I wanted. And I was working at a fish market when I first met him, like, $10 an hour. And I'd take the money I made and I'd be like, I want to learn that. And that's literally what I've done. I've just learned and reinvested into learn these skills. And he's been one of the greatest mentors for me.
Isn't it amazing what a great mentor, teacher, and friend could do in your life? I mean, my own discovery came from a time where I was confronted with my ego when I was 28 and I had all this early success. And then I plateaued and all of that began to fade away. And I had to go out and discover why I reached my limit so early and that I was going to have to learn all new things and skills. And in reading, sometimes my greatest mentors were dead for hundreds of years on the pages of books. But like you just learn one simple truth from one guy and some thing that they overcame, and it just unlocks so much in your life. And then what happens is you want to tell everybody about it, and it's like, but people don't want to believe you. They don't want to believe that it could be that easy. Like, oh, you have a sensei who worked at a supplement store like that. They get fixed. It can't be that easy. You must tell me the secret. There must be something else. What else did he teach you that or what else? Right. And it's like, and that's in one of my favorite books that came from my wife, The Alchemist by Paulo Coelho. And he says, they're in the desert and the two tribesmen that stopped them ask, the alchemist and the boy, what are you doing? And he tells them, we're going to find this boy's personal legend. He's powered. He has gold. He's going to do it. And they just laugh in his face. And they're like, ha, 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 you're so stupid. Go on your way. And the boy says, why did you tell them the truth? Why did you tell them everything? And he said, you know, when you possess great powers within you, seldom are you underbelieved, you know, and like whenever, and I've read that book, I don't know, way over 100 times. I listen to it almost every night before I go to bed. And every time it comes up on that part, I'm always so delighted. And it's like exactly what you were just describing to me. Like, you found a great teacher. He taught you some simple universal truths that you were able to incorporate into your own life and now carve out your own way and find all this success. I just find it to be so beautiful. You know, it's like I feel very blessed with my sensei in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu also. Like, I've had this guy, he's like, he lives his life almost like a monk or an artist. And he has a small school and great students. It's in nondescript. It's in a medical office building. But here is this world-class martial arts education that has impacted me. You know, I wrote my book, Business Jiu-Jitsu, off of the lessons that I learned in that academy from this man. And you just said it. I've gotten millions of X. I don't even know how to quantify it. You know, how much success have I gone? How far have I gone off these lessons that he continues to teach me over and over again? I just find it to be so powerful and beautiful. And I think it's like so misunderstood. So I guess my next question to you is like, you must have many critics or people who don't believe that these truths exist or that they don't understand what you do. Like, what do you do when you confront, if you do any longer, or maybe it was more early in your years because you've had a lot of success now, but like, what do you do when you encounter these critics? By the way, probably family members.
Yeah. You know what, man? I feel like when the further I go down my path, the less I just run into them, the less they come into my world. And I imagine, like, if my trajectory continues to expand as it does, I will, you know, the more attention you get, the more criticism you're going to receive. So undoubtedly, that could be a possibility for the future. But I feel like when I just believe in myself and I take my path, like, I'm only going to be working with or confronted with the people who are in that emotional frequency that I'm living in, right? Otherwise, the people aren't going to be listening. They're not going to be my clients, right? Like, the people who aren't working with me, they're not working with me because they don't believe in what I'm doing. But if they're willing to get on a call and explore what I'm doing, they're there for a reason. And so, yeah, I don't know. I feel like, I guess I've been a little bit blessed in that way that I'm not confronted with as much criticism. And then when it happens, it just doesn't affect me at all. Like, I saw that, like, once I went on Rogan and I, you know, started talking about some things that I do, you know, there's like a blog article is written basically like saying I do pseudoscience. And then there's, you know, some people who are like, you know, clinical psychologists and therapists who like were like messaging me saying like, kind of, who do you think you are? Like, you shouldn't be doing this. It's irresponsible. But like, when I see those things, I just feel empathy. I'm like, well, you're definitely not gonna be my client. So like, I'm not going to respond to you. I'm not going to give any energy to you, but that's your journey. You know what I mean? It's just like,
I know exactly what you mean.
I feel nothing about it. I feel nothing. I'm just like, and I think what's helped too is like a little bit about my other story of like, I built this massive social media following in my 20s around jump rope fitness. So I was inundated. Like, first it was like, oh, I'm famous now. And I felt like that I'm cool, right? I got millions of followers. And then I like got there, and then I was like, and of course there's like a lot of haters that come with that, but not actually that many. There's just whatever, just people are people. And then getting through that and selling that company on the other side, now where I'm at now, I feel like I had to go through that because now that I'm here, I'm kind of desensitized from a little bit. Like, I don't really care how cool people think I am or how right they think I am or if they're going to criticize me. Like, I care about the people who are investing into me. I care about my clients. I care about my close friends, my family. And that's honestly one of the biggest things that I work on with my professional athletes, especially, is helping them overcome that fear of judgment because they haven't done the work that I've done on myself. And so I'm basically lighting their torch and saying like, we're going to release all the trauma there subconsciously that is basically built into us from the collective consciousness of I need to survive in a tribe. So it's naturally to feel that way.
Yeah.
And helping them release that and just be like, yeah, but how are your teammates? Oh, they love you. How are your coaches? They're supporting you. How's your family? How's your friends? Great. Let it go. It's not as simple as let it go, but the process is we clear the subconscious of those traumas to release you. And of course, I've done all this work on myself first. All the medicine I'm giving to other people, I've given it to myself, and it's allowed me to now receive criticism and just kind of flow like water, man, because it doesn't, I don't get anything from it, right? So why am I going to give it anything?
Yeah. Well, another way of saying what you're saying. So my wife is a foot and ankle surgeon, a podiatrist. She's incredibly talented. She's very well regarded. But when she was in medical school, she almost dropped out. And because her passion and hobby is nutrition. As a matter of fact, when she met my parents, the first night we were at a restaurant, and it was the night that Bruce Jenner came out as transgender with Caitlyn Jenner. It was on every newspaper, every TV. She didn't even know what a Kardashian was. Like, my wife is completely disconnected from any kind of movies, nothing. But her heroes were Dr. Peter Attia, nutritionists, these people I'd never heard of, Dr. Michael Greger, and she would talk with so much passion about, and it was so well read in this subset of people. And one of the things that she taught me early in our relationship, and why she almost left medical school, is that she came across this concept of you can't patent broccoli. And what she meant by that was, it's so simple, we're oversimplifying everything. Everybody wants to, they need the magic medicine, they need the magic diet, they need that. It's it's so simple. It's like in medicine, the food, whole food, real food, organic food. And that kind of strikes me about a lot of what you do and what we've done together, which is that there are techniques that you've learned and mastered, but there's a simplicity to it that a doctor or a psychologist would not be able to appreciate or understand, that you, who didn't go to medical school, was able to do. And I also encounter this in my business life. If you read the biography of of Elon Musk by Walter Isaacson, he tells a lot of the story, and also the biography by Ashley Vance of Elon Musk, of him getting into the rocket business. His sheer naivete made him circumnavigate the entire system of Boeing and Lockheed Martin and all of these people, and say, you're doing it wrong. You're doing everything wrong. Same thing with Tesla. It's he came into it and he didn't listen to them the way that they do it. And so if you want to be in the car business and you go and you make your way up through Ford and you work, and then you get a job at Porsche, and now I'm working at Range Rover, Land Rover, whatever. You're inside of that system, and it makes you have system and conventional thinking. And then someone from the outside comes in with a different way of viewing it, like yourself. And then all of a sudden, no amount of taking Advil or getting steroid shots in your back year after year, or going to chiropractors, is working. And then you have a few conversations with you or your sensei, and all of a sudden you are living pain-free by going deep. And I remember, I think it was in one of Michael Phelps's run-ups when he was winning all of his medals, that he was talking about that he had read this book called The Power of the Subconscious Mind long before I met you. And I read that book, and it was very similar to the things that you believe and promote. And before that, I was turned on to the work of Dr. Sarno, who was a surgeon for the back. And he basically came to the realization that most people's pain was not derived from some physical injury, but more from their emotions.
Yes.
And when you were on Rogan, I heard you talking about this through the lens of pain and how you work with your clients. And that was ultimately why I became so interested in you and in your work, is because I always suffered from this pain that just wouldn't go away. This chronic, and I would be so frustrated, especially when I would show up to train and the pain would stop me. I didn't think anything was structurally wrong with me. And I could remember times in my life before anything, when I was a teenager and suffered with some kind of pain like this. And so just through Sarno, through the power of the subconscious mind, and then through hearing your work, and then now going through these exercises, which again, by the way, you should reach out to Brandon if you want, but they are in his book if you have the guts to actually read. it's like in The Alchemist, they said it's so simple it could be written on the face of an emerald. Like it's that simple to distill. And like, so what I would say to your critics is like, I think that like their own intelligence and study of being in the system is what stops them from understanding that like maybe there's a broccoli out there.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that like my simplicity actually serves me greater than anything else. You know, it's just like, I'm not trying to make it complicated. And I think that's why it works, is because, you know, like when you practice something as a martial artist, like what do? You want to practice a kick 10,000 times to get to that mastery. It's like, I just find what works and I just practice it and practice it and practice it. And I keep it very simple and then it works. And I gain mastery over it. Like, I think that you can, like a lot of people do what I do, they just get there in different ways, and you just have to find your own unique expression and way of doing it. And if you practice enough, you're going to get to a level of mastery around it. And I think you have to, like, I think that we're all being guided towards the right teachers because, you know, if you're truly a seeker, because you're going to find someone who has actually been on the journey that you've been on to some degree, who's been able to heal themselves in some way. And then they're going to be able to pass the torch to you. That's really how I think about it. It's like, I'm sure with business mentors for you, it's like they're basically lighting your torch. Like, hey, listen, I've been here before. I can viscerally in my bones share with you why this works and how it works, and I can pass that to you. And that's what I do, and that's what I constantly seek. You know, I'm always looking for people who have actually done it. And unfortunately, even like, so when I grew like a big social media audience, there's all these like courses you can take. They'll teach you how to become social media famous and build an audience. But none of those people are actually the people who built the audiences. Maybe they built an audience. I'll teach you how to build an audience, but they actually haven't done what you want to do, which is usually like take a passion or something that you're uniquely good at and build an audience around that. And so if you're listening to their advice, they're going to give you that process of like, do X, Y, and Z, and it'll work. And it's like, maybe. But my experience is you kind of have to live it yourself, and or find somebody who's already done it. Like, I'll give you an example of someone who passed that torch to me when I was building my YouTube channel earlier on. Like, we were grinding like for a year straight, putting out content. We had less than a couple thousand subscribers on YouTube. It just wasn't working what we were doing. And I have a friend of mine who he was running an SEO agency, and he shared with me his course. And the course gave me this aha moment of, oh, wait. So basically, I'm just answering questions for people. And so that triggered in me. I was like, okay. And I know he's had a lot of success basically building, like, he had the #1 performing like Kaggle app because he ranked SEO higher than anyone else, and he knew how to do that. So I was like, all right, this guy knows what he's doing. He's not like a sex master or anything. He just is really good at SEO. He did that for a lot of things.
Yeah.
And so that, like, I was like, okay, you're basically lighting my torch right now. And I went and tried it out. And I typed into YouTube the questions about our niche. We were teaching jump rope fitness. I was like, okay, let me type it in. Jump rope for, and then YouTube will finish the search phrase for you. It basically tells you exactly what videos to make because it shows you what people are looking for. And so we just started making all the videos that we were basically, like, YouTube was saying, hey, people want to know the answer to these questions. As you type in how to jump rope for, it will tell you beginners, boxing, to be a better athlete, whatever it is, for weight loss. We just started making all that content. Boom. We hit that exponential curve. And, within 5 months, we had 50,000 subscribers on YouTube. And within 5 years, we had over 1 million. Wow. And so I think it's not necessarily just looking for the process based off of like the analytical side. What can I learn? What can I get? Like, what is the tactics of it? But it's actually like getting your fire torch lit by another person who's actually lived it, has created the experience, had the success with it. And then you take that, and like I did, it wasn't like his tactics exactly because he was building a blog. But for me, it was like, okay, that gave me the aha moment how I can apply what you've already used to success in my own business.
Yeah. So beautiful. I often say, like, and I heard this somewhere, so I didn't make it up, but smart people learn from their mistakes, but geniuses learn from other people's mistakes. It's like, I always found that to be the greatest source from my mentors, and not only what my natural instinct was on something, but This is what Lincoln did. This is what Grant did. This is what General Patton did. This is, and also the fact that people have been in these situations before and figured it out. And here I am working on it and working on it and working on it and not figuring it out. And then all of a sudden, but wait a second, someone else has figured out this problem, and let me maybe tap into that. And so, yeah, the power of mentorship and also your own experience teaches you to learn how to ask the right questions. Like, so I also want to signal that to people who are at the beginning of their journey. It's like, I don't even know what to ask a mentor. It's like, you just have to just keep going, keep training more, and you're understanding what questions to ask will emerge to you.
Yes, absolutely.
I wanted to just shine a little bit of light to demystify a little bit, because you and I are friends. We work together, and I know your techniques. And by the way, they've worked incredibly well for me across many different areas, and I just want to thank you for that. But just demystify it a little to make it a little bit more clear what we're talking about, in terms of like the kind of techniques that you work on. I know you mentioned there's an NLP techniques, there's meditation techniques. I said you've got some great meditations online, but just kind of give a high level understanding for anybody listening to this. So it's not like, we're not talking about wizardry here. We're talking about real actionable things that you can do to unblock limiting beliefs in your own mind.
Yeah. And there also is wizardry in it, but you don't even need to believe in the wizardry. I do. I believe that I'm a wizard for sure. I believe I have magic, but you only have to believe in that part, because the rational side of it, the stuff you can prove through science, is so established that you don't even need to believe in that to be bought in. So let me just explain how this works, because I cannot believe, I can, but I also can't believe that we are not taught this stuff at such an early age, because it's so fundamental. Okay, let's go into it, Jordan. How does our human experience come to be? How do we create our feelings? How do we end up participating in behavior? And how do we end up seeing results in our life? Well, here it is. In every given moment, we're pulling in millions of pieces of data through our sight, through sound, through smell, through taste, and through touch. That is how we interact with the outside world, right? We're pulling in all the data through our senses. Now, the data is the data. It actually is not good or bad, has no meaning. The only thing that gives it meaning is our own perception. Now, our own perception is specifically tied to our own belief system. The belief system does not live in the head. This is not a rational conscious thing. It actually lives in the somatic feeling body. So if you want to access where your belief system actually is, you're going to have to go down and in and out of your head and into the feeling body. So in any given moment, I could see something on TV, right? I could see a politician I hate or a politician I love. Okay, well, why am I feeling anger and hatred right now? Well, let me run this. Let me feel into the emotion. Oh, because I believe this person is out to get me. I believe this person is evil. Oh, that's where that feeling comes from. It's coming from the belief that lives in the body that you can find through the emotion. Now, what am I going to believe? What is that belief going to do for me? Well, every time I see that person, I'm going to feel anger. I'm going to feel agitation. I'm going to feel like a victim, right? And then you ask yourself the question, do I want to continue to create that reality? Do you want to continue to give that person that type of power over me, right? Now we're going into the matrix, and we're actually starting to control how the world interacts with us. It's through the subconscious belief system that you'll find in your emotional body. And so when you feel an emotion, there's a belief in there, and you can actually uncover it, and you can change it if you ask the question, what am I believing to be true that would make me feel this way right now? The thing is, you're not going to find it in your head, and we're so programmed to stay up here in the conscious mind. You actually have to feel, and especially men who are high achievers, we get stuck in our head because sometimes we have so much going on in our lives. We're pushing so hard that we can't go into the feeling. There's too much stress there to even go into. There's too much weight on our shoulders to even really address it. So we operate from the neck up, and we actually don't get access to the supercomputer, which lives at the subconscious level. Jordan, can I keep ranting? You want me to slow down or talk about anything else?
First of all, I'm so with you. I just want to build on one thing that you said, because it really struck a chord with me. And I learned this over the past couple of years because two of my best friends, one just lost, and he was a mentor. He's the person that got me into Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. He just passed. His name is Lou Levine, and he had early onset dementia. And then another one of my best girlfriends, her father, he's still alive, but he's also had early onset dementia. And one of the things I learned about what kills you from that disease is I always thought you just began to lose your memory. But what I actually learned was not only does your conscious memory begin to degrade, but your subconscious memory and subconscious computer begins to also lose, which is a much bigger part than our conscious thinking.
Yes.
And so the part of your brain that tells your skin to grow, or your kidneys to function, or your blood to pump, the whole thing starts to shut down. The early onset dementia doesn't just attack, oh, he doesn't remember things. He doesn't remember. Your whole subconscious computer begins to shut down. And so like why that struck such a chord with me and why you saw me start to get excited is because that's what you're helping tap into. There's so much more to be discovered within.
Oh, it's all in.
Yeah.
It's all in, down and in, down and in. But part of the matrix of control is that if I get that next car, if I get that next accomplishment, if I get this next external thing, then I'm going to feel how I want within myself, right? And the way we break out of the matrix is we reverse the energy flow of that. We go, how can I create an experience within myself to feel the peace or the excitement or the abundance of what I thought that thing would give me now? And the truth is, it actually unlocks a part of your subconscious that's not available when you're operating in a place of scarcity or fear or being less than, that gives you the inspiration, aha moments, and the inspiration to actually go out there, take the action to create the car, the external thing, all the money, whatever it is. And so we're programmed to believe that it's like, we just have to stay in our head and just keep working, keep grinding just from force to create the things we want, to get the feeling we want. Where in reality, you can actually create the feeling you want first by training it like anything else. And that as a byproduct will give you what you want. You're at the end game, but then the byproduct is you feel inspired, you feel energized, and you want to move forward from the present moment to create some of those physical material manifestations.
Yeah. Well, I believe it so strongly, and you want to believe it. And I think there's a place that you also have to get to in your life where if you truly want to feel good and you truly want success, you have to unblock it yourself and take the responsibility to work on techniques and things that other people have done. So you work with some of the highest performers in the world, very well documented. Anybody who's interested can go see Brandon's client list of some of the best fighters active and other athletes and famous people, business people. What are some universal truths that you see across the highest performers who they want to get to the top of their field, they want to win, they want to be the UFC champion, they want to be the best in their business? Like what connects everybody together?
Yeah. And the reason most people come to me is like, I'm not getting the people coming to me because everything's fixed, right? And they're there to impart their wisdom on me. More so, they're coming to me because they are very talented. They've already had some success. They've gotten really far with force alone. And they're coming to me more so because of the universal beliefs that they fall into that hold them back. And so those are the ones, it's more like addition by subtraction than anything else, like I never just come up with things off the top of my head. I'm like, hey, like, I want you to think about this or do this or believe this. No, it's all a transmutation of what's holding you back. It's always the addition by subtraction and then reclaiming that power. So on that front, a big one that holds back high achievers, especially professional athletes I've seen, is the fear of judgment, right? And this can show up in a lot of different ways. It could be the belief that, I need the approval of everyone around me for me to feel okay. That's a big one, right? So they stay in a state of fight or flight, and this often ends up having them like performing really tight and contracted instead of just flowing and present. So we have to transmute that. What's the opposite of believing you need approval of everyone else to be okay? You need to believe you only need the approval of yourself to be okay, right? So that's a huge one that comes from the fear of judgment. There's also a lot of beliefs around the make or break, right? When you're performing with high stakes, a lot of high performance can fall into the trap of, I believe if I do one thing wrong, everything will be lost, essentially, right? I believe if I make the wrong hire, I believe if I make the wrong decision, I believe if I fire the wrong person, then I'm going to lose it all. And this also shows up in business. It shows up in sports. It's I believe if, I make one mistake while I'm playing, it could be someone I coach doing baseball, and it could be like, I believe, and they don't consciously think this, but this is what's going on at the subconscious level. I believe if I get out, then I'm going to lose all my opportunities. I'm not going to be in professional sports anymore. And the transmutation, of course, is always the opposite polarity. I believe that even if I make a mistake, I'm still going to have a long and fruitful career. And so rationally, you would think to yourself, well, I don't know, do I want to accept that I'm going to make a mistake? And the truth is that what you accept can actually change. And so it opens up a pathway for more success, because when you accept that, the energy can just flow through you, and no longer are those negative thoughts ruminating in your head. The energy has been cleared, and you can just be present for what's happening right now. So fear of judgment, the make or break, the universal one that everyone deals with is I'm not enough, right? I'm not worthy of the success. Even once you've achieved it, I've made all this money, but I'm constantly grinding even harder. I'm not making time for my family, my friends, because I still don't believe I'm worthy. And even though all the resources are there, I don't believe I'm worthy or I'm not enough. So I need to stay on this adrenaline cycle so I don't have to face that, because they haven't gotten to the core of their not enoughness. And so, of course, what's the opposite of not being enough? It's being more than enough. It's being worthy. So I could keep going, but there's really not that many. There's probably like 10 core beliefs that I see consistently holding back the highest performers in the world. And I think they affect everyone. But I think what's unique about high performers is that they have this special openness and willingness to go face those demons. That's what I find. That's what kind of separates them. In the same way that they have put in this work, whether in their business or in sports, to get to where they are, they have this willingness to go to this place of vulnerability where the average person, the stakes aren't high enough for them. So if we're like, hey, let's go into your deepest insecurities. Let's find out what you're believing to be true that makes you feel so insecure. They just go, no, I'm not going there, because the stakes aren't high enough for them. They're like, yeah, like they can't even imagine what their life could be like on the other side of it. And so they're more like playing defense. They're like, I don't want to lose the little that I have. And that's what I found in my practice, which is why I love working with high performers, because they're willing to go there with me and get to the really fun work. Like you, Jordan, like when we've done the work, you're like, I'm an open book, babe. Let's go for it. Let's do everything. I'll feel it all. I'll do it all. And so the same reason why you're successful with this type of work is the same reason you're successful in business and jiu-jitsu, is because your openness and willingness to go into the darkness to come out the other side into the light.
I'm so grateful that you just said all that, not just about me, but about what you said. And I want to signal to everybody that if there's any single thing on planet Earth that I give myself credit for, it's that I was not that way. I was the opposite of that way. I discovered that. I learned it much in thanks to jiu-jitsu and my dad in two different parts of my life. And also Tony Robbins. The work of Tony Robbins is the first person to open up my mind. And I call it in my book when I discovered that I was the asshole. It's like, wait a second, I'm the guy. It's all me. No one else is to blame. It's just my fault. And I just got so thirsty. I was like, wait a second. If this information is in this book and on this podcast, what else can I learn? What else? And when I started using all these things that I was learning, I just kept getting this tidal wave of success. And my sensei always said this thing. He's like, you read the book, now become the book. And I scribbled that down everywhere. I opened up, like, my favorite book is called The Art of Learning by Josh Waitzkin. And I hadn't picked it up in years. And I picked it up to thumb it through to read it. And I had written, become the book. And I was like, I don't even need to read this book anymore, because I got it. And then I read the book again. I was like, it's just so, like, what you're saying is, I think it's just this curiosity and this thirst of, like, there's so much more to learn and incorporate to get to the next level and the next level. And not for the sake of just wanting to get to the next level, just for, like, the excitement that comes with learning.
Expansion. Yeah.
Just like, it's so exciting.
Because you're aligning with nature, right? What is the universe doing? It is expanding, right? So how are we going to feel our best as a byproduct of the universe? in our expansion. It's in our nature to expand. The contraction is what creates stress, anxiety, health issues. When you push everything down, suppress, when you finally, you let go and you surrender, and then you expand, and you learn, and you grow, that expansion puts you back in your natural rhythms.
Yeah. You're right. Because I would say the people who in my life, who I think they have so much potential, and I'm like, man, I don't see any reason why you couldn't be at the highest level of what you're looking to achieve, but their cup is so full. They don't want to learn. They think they know everything. I know. Oh, I know. Yeah. Oh, yeah, I know. Oh, yeah, I read that book. Oh, yeah. No, that doesn't work. That's stupid. That's pseudoscience. No, my doctor said this. Like, it's just that they've closed off to the possibility that there's another way. And like all of my heroes, like they just always think there's another way. Like that's like in my businesses. Every time I encounter an obstacle or a problem, I'm like, all right, well, we'll figure out a different way. It's like, and then I sometimes I say that to people who work for me, and they get so frustrated. They're like, no, we tried everything. We tried that. I'm like, well, let's try again. It's like, well, do you just want to give up and go out of business? But I really, really appreciate that you said that, because I find that to be that curiosity of just wanting to go deep and figure it out and just find out what to keep doing it. You ever see that like image? It gets shared all the time with social media of Elon Musk's different engines. It's like the first engine that's, I'll pull it up right here so people could see it. Let's see. I think it's called the Raptor engine progress meme. It came right up. Let's see here. Share. I'll share my screen, and for those of you listening to this on Spotify, I will put this in the on the show notes so you can check out the link. But there's a meme. You could just type in Raptor engine Elon Musk, and it basically will show, this one has only 2, but where it started to where it is, 2019 to 2024 on this one. Can you see my screen, Brandon?
Yeah, I can. It's so much more simple.
It's so much more simple. It's like, this is where it started, this is where it went, and this is where it is. And they just keep refining and refining and finding. And there were more parts. It was more complex. And now there's less parts, and it's less complex and works better.
That's cool. That to make it about myself and the work I do, dude, I used to use so many more techniques in my coaching. I used to use so many because I've learned so many. Like, I think I don't know if it was you were showing me this, but I've learned EFT, the tapping.
No, that wasn't me.
You familiar with that at all? Okay.
No.
Yeah, EFT is a tapping technique to kind of release trauma in the body, and it can be useful.
I used to do that on my thighs. There's a YouTube video I had. I used to do this tapping to go to sleep. It was pretty cool.
Yeah, so there's so many tools. So basically, what we were talking about our conversation before we got on here was I would learn all these different techniques. And I'd try them out. And then I just kind of threw most of them away. And I just found the one that was super simple. And you do it. We do it for every session. I do it with all my clients. It's so simple. And I just do that. And what you have to do in that process of evolution is you have to let go of your ego. You'd be like, let me prove to someone how smart I am because I can do something so complex, right? Let me just show you all the things I can do. And you have to let go of that ego to get to that place of simplicity of it can actually be very easy. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, that's it. And just you say, well, do you want it to be hard and take a long time? Or do you want it to be easy and happen really fast? And that usually gets people to say, well, I'd rather have it easy and fast. Okay, let's just do this then. Because people want to overcomplicate, right?
Yeah.
We always want to overcomplicate it. That was the thing in the fitness world when I did it. It's what supplements should I take? What time should I eat? All these things. Okay, what if you just ate in a slight calorie deficit and you did nothing else? How about just that? How about just that? How about just that?
Yeah. Well said. Let me share where people can find you. First of all, your website here is thebrandonepstein.com, and all the information on your coaching, your speaking, your books, and others is here. There's also some information and testimonies on some of the best performing athletes and others in the world that you get to work with. We didn't really talk about them too much, but they're widely available. You can go check that out. On Instagram, you are Brandon Epstein _, easy to find. On YouTube, you are at Brandon Epstein _ also. Now, this is your coaching website. I don't have your fitness pulled up, but you also have you're very easy to find for all of your fitness.
Yeah, well,
content
I'm not
also.
actually doing that anymore. I don't know.
Yeah.
I think you do that, right? Yeah, I sold
But
that
it's
company.
here.
But yeah,
It's still live.
yeah. My business partner, he's still running with it. He still puts
Yeah,
up videos.
you can.
He's still
I've seen
doing
your content out there. You can still find it.
it. Yep.
Here's your great appearance on the Joe Rogan podcast, which if you loved what we talked about today, you go on for more than 2 hours with Joe, and you guys get into some deep and awesome stuff. So that was originally how I found you, and really, really grateful that I did. Very, very grateful for the work we do together and for your friendship. You're the best of the best in all areas, and we only scratched the surface today. So I hope we get to do this again in the future.
My brother, so grateful for you, your friendship, your relationship, and grateful for you having me on here to share a little bit what I do with your audience. So, and everyone, thank you for listening. Appreciate your time.
Yeah. Have a great day, and I'll talk to you soon.